Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat for you. This is the one and only Nicole Stanbra. She served well over 600 families. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's a local to Jupiter. And what I love about Nicole is that she's always incorporating her family. She does videos at a very high level, and you can tell that she serves her clients at a very high level. But on top of that, you know, I think it's underestimated the brain that is required to be an Army engineer. You have to be very systems oriented. And from my experience, I feel like a lot of the realtors that I'm friends with can definitely benefit from the structure that comes with that kind of mindset. So really grateful for you to do this business planning webinar. I think it's going to be super impactful for the realtors that are on the call and that get the recording. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Pleasure to be here as well. To kind of touch on systems, like when you create a system, then you have an asset. When you have an asset, you have something that you have a value, something that you could package, something that you could sell. So I'm always thinking of ways like how to build and grow within the real estate business, not just selling homes, but other ways to, again, bring value and generate other streams of revenue. So assets and systems. All right,
Awesome.
Cool. Well, we will kick things off. This is the Business Jump Starter. I do this system every single year, right between December and January with my team. I've been doing this since 2016, and this is just one of the ways that we're able to get a jump start into the new year, but also the most important part is the review preview aspect of the system. And so I'm going to take you through, there's 4 steps. I'm going to take you through all 4, so we'll get a little tactical. But before we start, let's just, if you don't know me, I am Nicole. Again, as Chris mentioned, I lead a team of realtors. We operate out of the Jupiter, Northern Palm Beach County area. Video is a huge part of my business. It's how I've grown my business and my personal brand. I'm a host of American Dream TV, and we feature a lot of spotlight episodes in the Jupiter, Northern Palm Beach area. And then in a different galaxy, a different lifetime ago, I served in the U.S. Army, so spent some time in Iraq and Afghanistan. Actually met my husband in Afghanistan. He's not Afghani, but he was deployed there the same time I was, and we've lived happily ever after with 2 little kids. So big part of my business, like Chris mentioned, is the video aspect of it, but then also incorporating all of the things that I've learned through being in the military and just, I think, experiences in life in general makes you who you are.
Exactly.
So
Well
without
said.
further ado, okay. Cool. So just to kind of get a temperature check, to get a feel of like who's here and why you might have decided to attend the webinar today or watch it as a recording in the future. Are you lacking clear vision of what your goals are for 2025? We are at the end of January, we're about to be in February, which means we really only have 9 months left in 2025. So the clock is ticking, but if you're not crystal clear on what your vision and goals are for this year, then this is definitely going to be helpful for you today. Are you unsure what you should even be focusing on? Do you kind of feel like you're running around with your head cut off and you just are attracted to all the different shiny pennies, and you kind of have that goldfish mentality of like, okay, today I'm going to do this and tomorrow I'm going to do this, but there's really no strategy behind it? Well, if you can relate to that, this too will be a great training for you today. And lastly, are you struggling to even take action? Like you kind of have a plan, you kind of have a vision, but you just need to figure out what is my next step and what tasks and action activities do I need to take to be successful? So if you can relate to any of those 3 kind of questions, then I think you're going to get a lot out of today's training.
Amazing.
All right, quick overview of what we're going to cover as part of our Business Jumpstart webinar. We're going to start with goal alignment. This will be a little bit more kumbaya, okay. So we'll kind of like visualize and give ourselves permission to create space for ourselves and figure out what we actually want in life and out of this year. Then we're going to dive in and we're going to get tactical on a review preview process. We're going to pull up a tracker. At the end of this presentation, I have a QR code. You can just take a picture of it and I'll give you access to the same lead tracker that I've been using with my team. So hopefully you get a lot to take away from today.
Fantastic.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna step with goal alignment. And this is kind of where I said it might get a little like kumbaya, a little foo-foo, but at the end of the day, like, we all have different goals, and it's so important to realize before we start, running 100 miles an hour towards a goal, like, why are we even doing it? Why are we here? Just a couple of questions to ask yourself. I like to think of this as the power of permission. So you're giving yourself permission to take authority of your own life. No one sets a goal for you. You set your own goals, right? And even as a team leader or a business owner, like, we cannot really instill goals, individual goals on others. We need to inspire and motivate them to decide what their goals are, and then we support them. So that's something that I've learned over the year. I'm still learning on that. But we all have different goals, and that all looks different for all of us. We give ourselves grace to decide what that looks like. Today in 2025 is going to be different than last year, and in the upcoming year in 2026. We just have to envision it and decide what it looks like, and how does it feel. But to where I've built a brand and have a company and I'm running it as a business and not just being a realtor, but actually running it as a business with a P&L and having a team in place that can, kind of pick the ball up and run with it, which allows me to be still the rainmaker, be the visionary, but also allows me the space to just say, after 4 p.m., I'm not taking any appointments. I'm not going on showings. I'm not going to work on the weekends unless I decide, like, I want to section a couple of blocks of time to do deep work. And I'm not talking like host an open house or go show properties, like deep work in my business.
Yes.
And that for me would look, that's the question. Like, if I can make that happen this year, then I will say I will have a successful 2025 when I look at that in December 31st.
So if you can relate to that, if you want to spend more time with your family, or maybe just more time pursuing what makes you happy, yet you want to remain being that rainmaker, the rest of this webinar is definitely going to be for you. And I think I'm at the point in my life where I know that I have about another 10 years to grind it out, be in the trenches, but I want to build the business over time to where it can also run autonomously, or even exit, maybe sell the company.
Totally. Right? And if that's a goal of yours,
Definitely.
then that's like, and then I think backwards planning comes into the play too. Like, if at the end of the day, whatever day that looks like, whatever year that looks like, you want to have an asset so that you can sell your company, then how do we get to that point, right?
Exactly.
And I love that you're also, I think it's really important, one of my mentors, Sharon Shrivastava, who's the president of Real Broker, he has a podcast called Business School, and he just did an episode which has us thinking, looking chunks of 10 years, chunks of decades. Like, we have to look so much longer term than just 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, like chunks of time. So for me, I know I have 10 more years until my kids are out of the house in college. My son's 8, he'll be 18. My daughter will be graduating college in 10 years, almost, he'll be 21. Wow. So I have 10 years of time that I can invest into my children's future. And that, for me, and then after they go off to college and they're young adults at that point, my next chunk of 10 years may look very differently. Maybe that's when I want to build further and I want to go deeper and I want to have a different stream of revenue or a different business plan. I don't know. But for now, I know I have 10 years that I'm going to invest in my kids. I'm going to set my business up to best support that so that I don't have that friction and bitterness between family and work life. You just have to decide what that looks like for you.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for the audience to know that you are not reinventing the wheel. You've invested a tremendous amount of time and money into being professionally coached to be able to execute this in a way where you're going to get proven results.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate and supporter of coaches and mentors. I've hired a coach I was just talking to Brendan about this, like I started with Craig Proctor, I got licensed in 2016, and 3 months later I decided to join coaching. And I've had a coach ever since, every single year, and I'm going on 9 years in the business. So whether it's a paid coach or a mentor or an advisor or just someone that you can bounce ideas off of, but then also get that true support that can take you from where you are now to whatever your goal is. So kind of to your point, like, if your goal is to, okay, I want to sell 100 homes this year, cool. Then, like, your plan is going to be different than maybe my plan that's like, I want to set up an autonomous business and not sell. I don't want to sell 100 homes. I actually want to sell 40 homes per personal production this year, but then I want my team to make up the other 60. How do I put a plan together for that, right? So, and then I think what's also maybe the most important part of this is like, you got to be willing to commit to it. So if you're, and it was Brendan too, and you said this, like, at some point in your business, if you want to be successful in whatever it is, real estate, mortgage, media, whatever it is, there's going to be a time where you just got to go balls to the wall and grind. Like, you just have to. So you can visualize, you can do vision boards, you can manifest. All that is good. I do it too. But like, at some point you got to put the work in. So it's not enough to just say like, I want this to happen. You actually have to take the steps to like create the opportunities for yourself to make it happen. So, and I think that looks different for all of us. So.
Amen to that. Got to go Elon Musk mode for a little.
Yes,
right?
Let's go.
Awesome. Cool.
All right, cool. So how do you find and create your inspiration? I do a brain dump, and I'm going to show you just a quick, I'll come back to this. So this is just a big ass brain dump. So like, if you're on this call, or if you're having a sales meeting with your team, and you know what happens, like everyone comes into the office and your meeting starts at 12:30, and everyone's on their phone, they're finishing up their last conversation, they're texting, they have something on mind that they like just feel like they need to focus. I have these printed out on my desk and our conference table, and it's like, just write it down, like whatever you're thinking. So it's like, I got to pick up dry cleaning today because I have an event tomorrow, or I have to finish this keynote because it's due by Friday, or I have to schedule 4 showings tomorrow because my client's flying into town tonight. I haven't done it yet. Whatever, like the things, like your low-hanging fruit checklist things that are done, just write them down on a brain dump sheet. And then afterwards you can kind of circle and prioritize. That's just for now as like a quick little Band-Aid. But what you really want to be thinking is like giving your space to dream and figure out what success looks like in December 31st of 2025. We do this at the end of the year. We do vision boards. So like, it's kind of fun. You know, you could grab your magazines. We all kind of do like a little party, have a couple of drinks. And like, what's fun too as a team lead is that I get all of my team together and I get to see what's important to them and I get to see their vision. And for many years, I was trying to force my vision on my team more as a dictator instead of understanding like, oh, your goals are not my goals and vice versa. So by doing this step, it first lets them take ownership and it empowers people to decide like, this is truly what I want. If you're getting stumped and you're just like, I don't even know, I don't know what I want, or I need some inspiration, like create that, find that, follow those people. There's like so many influencers everywhere. There's really great mentors, there's coaches online. Like you don't even have to like necessarily pay for coaching. You could just follow some of these incredible trainers and get some inspiration and motivation from them too. I'm a big advocate for podcasts. Are you like a podcast kind of guy?
Yeah, definitely.
Love them. You could put them on. It's like the first thing I try to put in my brain when I wake up in the morning. So,
what are a few that you wake up to?
Business School by I love Sharon Shrivastava, Harmozy. I listen to him all the time. I just started listening to more manifesting podcasts with Jen Cudmore because I'm really trying to tap into soul energy and learn a little bit more on quantum physics and just how all the universe kind of relates and how we're all connected and aligned. So that's kind of been also down the journey of always being a student, like always wanting to learn, because we kind of get in these businesses where we forget like we need to keep learning and growing and developing our brains so that we can just be better versions of ourselves.
My two are Diary of a CEO,
and
every morning I typically listen to some kind of Joel Osteen.
Okay, cool.
Don't make fun of me. Okay. Now, but when you do the brain dumping, how often do you do it, and what time of day do you do that exercise?
I just always have that sheet everywhere. So like, I just have it at home on my island. I have it in my office. I have it in my car. So it's just kind of like, I'll fold it up throughout the day and keep it in there. But definitely before I'm about to do deep work, and when I say deep work, like, and this is, I find, especially with realtors, maybe in your profession too, like we're so shiny penny and we're such Pop-Tarts where it's like the phone rings and it's like we actually sacrifice our own work to answer and let people disrupt us. Like we actually knowingly allow people to disrupt our work patterns and our work ethic, and it's like unbelievable. So if you want to fail, respond to notifications. Like really, otherwise you just need to like, there's apps that you can actually install on your phone that will not allow you to go on social media for set times of the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome. And if you notice, it happens to me all the time, I'll be on my computer, out of nowhere, my hand has to grab my phone, open it, Instagram. And it's just like, it's such a bad habit, but it's not even, I didn't even need to go on Instagram, but my hand actually grabbed my phone and clicked it. So there's apps that you can actually program on there that will say, do not allow me to open any social media apps or any apps, whatever you program.
I might need one of
for
those.
that. Yeah, like I'll find out the name of it,
Perfect.
but my mentor uses it, and he's like, it allows me to really stay focused. But whatever that is for you, like whether you're just DNDing your phone or putting it on silent or putting it in a different room, like doing that deep work uninterrupted is like, that is the way that you're going to be able to really dial in any work task or anything in life. But I think that's like the most beneficial way to get started and focused.
Do you think people are very responsive because obviously they want to give great customer service, but there's still that fear-based thing in the back of their head telling them, hey, even though you allotted time for prospecting, this person's calling and you have to pay the rent, you have to pay the mortgage?
For sure. So I always look at everything that I do throughout the day is what are the money making activities. It's just always front of mind. It's like, so if I make my list of to-dos and I'm like, what do I start with today? And there's two trains of thought. There's low-hanging fruit or the money-making activities, and then there's also the eat that frog mentality, right? Where it's like, and so I try to build out my day where I'm time blocking like deep work for 2-hour chunks. You really cannot get into deep work unless it's like at least an hour or two. Like the amount of time it takes to first focus and then get in a groove, it's a couple hours. So you just have to set that time aside. But for the most part, yeah, like we're in a business where we eat what we kill.
Yep.
So it has to be money making activities. That's how I coach my team, is to focus on those areas first, and then allow chunks of time to get into the deep stuff.
And for those of you listening, eating the frog really means
Yes.
doing the hardest thing first thing in the morning. Right?
Yes. So it's such a great book. Like everyone should read that one of my favorites. I actually give that out for Christmas presents every year because it's just like, it was definitely an impressionable book for me as a realtor.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. So yeah, podcasts, books, professional networks, like find your inspiration, find your people, find your tribe, your circle, like whoever that looks for you. Like just surround yourself with the people that you aspire and create and gain inspiration from. And I will tell you, it's okay that those group of people change. Like I have lots of different groups and circles of people. And if they're not serving me and my life and my business and my family well, then sorry. Like I'm unapologetically selfish with my time and who I give my time to. So you might have a group of people that got you to a certain level, and then maybe you feel a little stuck, or like maybe you're getting dragged back down again, then find your new group and level up, like constantly be leveling up and finding people. And then maybe the last thing I'll mention too is like, when you're trying to find like a mentor or somebody that you gain some inspiration from, think of people who like are, I don't want to say like attainable, but like a few steps ahead. But to say like, oh man, I want to be Gary Vee, or I want to be Tony Robbins. Like say you say I want to be a public speaker, I want to do keynote presentations. Like find someone who's been having success in the last 5 years, but to go after and be like, I want to be the next Tony Robbins, like it's just, there's a lot more steps between there. So I try to call that more milestone mentors, where like, what is your next step that you need to be? Where's the next success look like? And then try to mirror after that. But to go after like, these incredible, a Tony Robbins style or level individual, I think you get inspiration from him, but like there's a lot of other people who are in the weeds, in production, especially as a realtor. Like I want to find people who are doing it now, not like did it and then stopped doing it. Like I'm still in production, so I'm not going to go admire a lot of people who sold homes 40 years ago and now are telling me how to sell a house. Like they're not relevant in my life right now or in my business.
Big facts right there. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the big ass brain dump that I talked about. This is like a running tab, right?
Yep.
So you can refresh that every day. All right, step 2, review, preview.
Nice.
Okay, we get tactical here, and this is my favorite part.
Good.
Cool. So big things. Anybody who joins my team, like this is something that we start with. So I would recommend this should be a tab. It's a spreadsheet. Every year you have a different tab for a different year, and you just constantly are populating your data. You really want to go back 2 to 3 years. So if you've never taken down the data of your production, start now, but also go back 2 to 3 years. Pull up the MLS or pull up Zillow or whatever tracker you might have and plug in the information into that so you can build out and you'll see the trends if you do it this way. There's going to be key data that we're going to analyze on the next page, but here's the absolute minimum that you need to have. Number of transactions. You're going to break it out buyer side, seller side, and then total. I don't track rentals. It's not a big part of my business, but if you're rental heavy, then absolutely you should have a column in there for rentals. Volume, sales volume, again, broken out buyer side versus seller side, and then total. The most important aspect is the lead source, where the business is coming from. This is really what we're going to dial in. And then you definitely want to know what your average sales price is. And just like all of your other data, you want to track that year over year and break it out seller versus buyer, and then percent to goal achieved.
Yes, yes,
right?
indeed. And
like, for sure.
what she's going to get into, guys, is the lead source is where I see so many realtors miss the mark because they end up over-investing in one lead source that they think is going to be profitable, but they actually haven't looked at, hey, their actual closings came from a completely different lead source that they're not leaning into.
Exactly. Yeah, and no one's tracking it. And I think it's a realtor thing too. Like, no one wants to look at the money they spend and actually analyze the ROI. Like, we kind of generally know how much we spend every year, but like what was produced, what was the result of spending that, and then what's the percentage of what's your return on investment. If you don't do that, and I will tell you, one of my first coaches, she did a lot of direct mail marketing. I'm a huge advocate for direct mail marketing. If you do not track that very, very carefully, that can quickly get like very wild and like you're gonna lose a lot of money. Direct mail marketing is very expensive. So she would track down to the stamp, the envelope. She put a business card inside of every envelope. So if you buy 500 business cards, what is the price per card? I mean, to the cent, to the penny, she tracked how much each piece of direct mail cost her, okay? So it would be like, $1.79 per letter. So when you're thinking of that, like, hey, I'm gonna send out 1,000 letters, that's almost $2,000, right? So if you sent 2,000 letters out, did you get any calls? If you did get one call, did you convert that lead? Did you book an appointment? Did you actually get a listing? Did you actually close the deal and get money, get paid commission? So breaking out, and that's probably another class on like how we track our expenses. But if you don't break down the lead source and how much you're spending, like you're literally just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping something sticks.
Yes, and maybe we should do that class as well in the near future.
I think that's
fantastic.
A good one. All right, here's a tracker. It's nothing special. It's actually very simple. I included my numbers. I hid some stuff, but at least to show you guys the lead source. The lead source is constantly going to evolve every year. There's some of these lead sources that I did not invest in last year, and there's going to be others this year that I add to this list. But just to kind of give you a general idea, I have paid leads, right? I do Zillow, I do Realtor.com. I do a lot with direct mailing. But what's also important to know is that like I break out my direct mail into 3 different categories. I have buyer letters, and those are more talking about the messaging that I include in that letter. So if I do a lot of direct mail, I have different campaigns. Every campaign has to be tracked differently because I need to know the message that I included on this letter, did that result in a phone call? If I need to slightly tweak the messaging on a letter or change the aesthetics of it or put it in a different kind of envelope, how will that change the performance of the letter I sent out? So I track things separately. I have buyer letters, direct mail letters. Those are more my seller home valuation letters. And then I actually have every door direct mail, which is a different type of direct mail. Those are your postcards that they send out to entire zip codes and mailing addresses. So all of this, the more broken down and more detailed you can get, the better. Another thing to note, so we have past clients, which would be your repeat clients. You have Sphere, but you also have referrals. And you also have agent referrals. So even with the referral bucket, you have to break down what type of referral. Was it a peer-to-peer agent referral, or was it a referral within your network of someone that you knew referring a friend to you? You have to track these things, because as we go through this, you'll see the benefit of doing so.
So how do you differentiate referral from sphere?
Okay, so sphere is you're my friend and you want to buy a house, or you have a house for me to sell. A referral would be like, you're my friend. Hey, my friend is thinking of selling their house. Can I refer them to you and introduce you to them?
Got it.
So it's a sphere person referring somebody that you don't know outside of your network to you as a referral.
Perfect.
Yes. Really important to track that.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it too, you probably know better than I do, average years of, what is it, like anywhere from 4 to 7 years, that the turnover rate of somebody owning a home?
That's about 5.5. It was 7 before, yeah.
Okay, so it's even shorter, so 5 years. Okay, so you help someone buy a house, they're in there for 5 years. You're gonna talk to them every once in a while, and we'll talk about some activities with that, but like, you're probably not gonna they're not gonna buy or sell unless they bought an investment property with you for 5 years. But within those 5 years, I bet there's people that they can refer to you, right? So it's like, you gotta be thinking, like, you might not be ready to sell your house that you bought with me 5 years ago, but who can you recommend to me who might be in a position to buy or sell? The referrals are gold. As you can see, huge part of my business. So that's the top lead source for my business. So as I'm going through, and you'll see, I have a broken down buyer side, seller transactions. I was very buyer heavy last year. Which is interesting because the year before I was 90% seller heavy. It literally flip-flopped. I was 90% sell heavy in 23 and 90% buy heavy in 24. So there's a couple of reasons behind that, but it's just very important to be able to break it out separately. And then total deals. I also break this out by volume. I hid these slides in here, but it's just really important to see, like, where are your price points coming from? Are you investing in, say, Realtor.com, but the average price point of those leads is $200,000? Or are you investing in Zillow, but the average price point in Zillow is $1 million buyer? I mean, that's 5 deals to make up for every one Zillow deal. So it's important to kind of know what price point each of these lead sources are creating for yourself.
And exactly what you were talking about previously about tracking, like how many calls, what's the conversion ratio to get to that closing? Because for example, where I see a lot of realtors go wrong is they might overinvest in an online lead like a Zillow and have, for example, like a one closing when, similar to you, most of their closings came from a referral.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally, right? I know. And I will tell you too, even in 23, these Zillow and Realtor things were flip-flopped. I had like 6 deals close on Zillow and only 1 or 2 in Realtor, and I was like, dumping Realtor and we're gonna double down on Zillow. Well, I did that, and it just, interesting enough, it just flip-flopped back. Yeah, and so some stuff maybe out of your control. I think there's reasons why these numbers turn out. Like, I know the reasons for my team and what we need to work on, but you'll just see, like, every year the market's different, so you just need to be able to adapt and pivot. And the good thing is, if you do this tracker, you have to do it at least once a year. Like, it has to be done at least once a year. If you do it quarterly, you'll be able to make moves so much quicker and pivot so much faster, so that you're not 9 months in still spending money on Zillow like me and seeing no results, hoping that, like, in another month maybe you'll get one more lead that converts. So the quicker you're able to analyze your data, the quicker you'll be able to make changes from it.
Yep. And I just want to be clear, I'm not discouraging Zillow. I do know some realtors who have a lot of closings from Zillow and less from referrals, but you have to know yourself.
Yeah, for sure. By doing, like, so I just did a thumbs up down here because I took my volume numbers and my ROI. So I just kind of did, like, I know what worked, right? So, like, for example, my agents, I also break out, I'm a team lead, so I have my own SOI or sphere. My agents had their sphere. And it's really important for them to track, like, how much of my business came from the team leads versus their own agent SOI. That was a pretty good lead source for them. Google pay-per-click, that was something that I doubled down on last year. I've had good success with that. So for me, I was able to lower my budget on Zillow, reinvest into Google, and that was a smart business move. But had I not had a tracker or something like this, then you're shooting in the dark and you really can't make good decisions with your investment.
Yep, and you have to understand that it's about seasons, because the season that you're in, an agent that maybe in their first 10 years might have to invest in Zillow a little more to build that base to get to where most of their closings come from referrals eventually.
Totally, yeah. It's just building your pipeline and your ecosystem of who's with you, right? So good. All right, cool.
Huge, love it.
So let's dial in a little bit more. This area here, so year over year, your total volume, this is really where you can start projecting what your GCI is going to look like, what your profitability is going to look like. Like, I just can't stress the importance, and I know this can take a long time, like, especially if you're going back over the last couple of years. It takes time. This is what we call deep work. So you have to kind of just set like a couple hours and just go through all your MLS and do the math and get your calculator out and really just study where the business came from. But you should have your volume for each lead source. And yes, that does take going back to the specific property address, pulling up the sale price, and kind of averaging it out. But by being able to do this, you'll know, okay, again, like Zillow, I closed 1 deal, the return was not there. Realtor, I closed 5. The return was there, but the price point, the average price point and the sales volume that it resulted in, I don't know, it's a wash. I may or may not move forward with Realtor.com this year, but it just allows you to make those decisions. Okay, so when you're able to pull, I like to go after the top 3 lead sources in each. And I kind of look at I'm looking at what tasks, actions, activities, investments, the time that went into generating a lead in each one of these sources. So if it's a paid lead, obviously it's pretty much just an investment, right? You're signing up, you pay, the leads come in. But if you're doing a lot of referral business or your sphere business, there's a lot more than just money that goes into that, right? So it's really outlining and detailing the different activities that you did and that you committed to over the years. So for example, in referrals, are you doing client events? If you're doing client events, how often are you doing them? Are they quarterly? Are they monthly? How much are these client events? Are they $5,000? Are they $20,000? Like, what are you investing into doing that? Is your referral business, are you not doing any client events? And maybe you're just doing pop-bys, or maybe you're just doing small dinners with like your VIP clients, or maybe you're sending gifts to your clients, but there's a cost associated with that, right? So it's whatever activities that you're actually doing to focus on these lead sources. I will tell you, for a long time, I tried doing a lot of client events because I saw other colleagues of mine having these incredible client events. They'd get like 500 people to come out to an event. Like my one friend, Lana Rodriguez, at Colorado Springs, Colorado, she like rented out the entire football arena. Like, I don't even, what is it called? Broncos?
Yeah.
Yeah, like she rented out the entire Coliseum. She had like 1,000 people come to this event. She took like 90 of her top clients. I mean, she has thousands of clients. She took like 90 of her top clients. She hired these charter buses and took like all of her women VIPs to some, I don't know if it was a Britney Spears concert or something, but like spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on client events. But her business is all referral. She does not pay for leads. She does not do Zillow or Realtor or any of those. It's all referral business and repeat clients. So she's going to invest the majority of her marketing spend in client events. So I was trying to do the same thing, doing client events, and I feel like the turnout wasn't great. I was spending all this money and it felt like a waste, and I just wasn't seeing the return. So instead I pivoted. And I would do smaller, like, hey, can I just take it to dinner? Like, hey, I have a couple other friends who I thought maybe you guys would connect well with. Why don't we do more of an intimate happy hour or something? And I found a lot more better results doing that. And it actually aligns much better with my personality. I don't like big events. Yeah. I'm introverted. So I'm going to do things that feel better, which kind of goes back to the goal planning and making sure you're aligned with what your goals are.
And I agree with that completely. From my experience, when you're trying to get business from referral partners, smaller, intimate events always will trump a bigger, less intimate event where you don't have as much one-on-one time with each guest.
Totally.
Then when you're working with customers, direct to consumer, the dinner or the lunch, that one-on-one, belly to belly, individually is going to be the most effective in my experience.
Yeah, Love it. And then who doesn't love getting it like a unexpected gift, right?
Or a
like
birthday gift.
Birthday gifts, all those things. And they don't have to be super expensive. It's the thought that counts.
Yep.
But those types of things, kind of forecasting and planning, okay, I know this is a big lead source for me. I'm going to budget X number of dollars every month, and I'm going to do, like we've always done for St. Patty's Day, I've always sent like a dollar lotto card out in the mail. I mean, I have 600 people, so I'm like spending $1,200 because you got a card, the lotto ticket, and the postage to send out to all of my past clients. Like that's a big chunk of money that month just for sending out a card. But we've done that every single year, and I get a lot of great feedback from my clients when they get it, and sometimes they win big, and it's just exciting. So that's something that, a little thing that you can budget for, and that's what I'm talking about, the different activities and actions that you can take for a specific lead.
Brilliant. Love it.
Cool. Thanks. All right. We talked about this a little bit, just comparing year over year your average sales price. You can pull data and stats about like what your market, what Jupiter, what Royal Palm Beach's average price per square foot is, average sale prices, or whatever it is. But you need to look at your own data, because you're not average. You have your own business that you're running, and hopefully, I mean, typically inflation is going to just continue to increase our price points anyway, but you'll see like year over year, you should be in a higher price point. And so I need to go back to these previous years, but I do break it out now on the list versus the sale, and it's very interesting. Like you can see the list side is just a higher price point than the buyer side. And just keep in mind, like my team, we sell $100,000 little condos and $6 million waterfront new construction homes. So this is definitely an average, but it's helpful for a team because they're kind of like wanting to know, like, well, how do I project? How do I forecast what my numbers might look like this year? Well, it's like based on our team average, this is what you can kind of use as, a tool for your calculations for math.
Definitely.
So this is really good. So keep this as another tab as well. Okay, so now we get into pillars of success. We've gone through the tracker, we've done the review, and we've done a little bit of a preview. So now we're going to extrapolate the top 3 lead sources, where the majority of your business came from. Just pick the top 3, it's super easy. And what was the income that you generated from each source? And that's where, again, a little bit more time consuming, but figuring out like how much money you made from your referral business last year. What was the return on investment? Then you're going to create the actionable tasks and activities for each pillar, and they're all different. I'm going to give an example on the next slide, one of my agents, because we went through the same exact exercise and it was really helpful for her. You're choosing like 3 clear activities that you're going to commit to. And it's not me telling you to do it. It's not someone else telling you to do it. It's like that you're going to actually commit to, because if you don't commit to it, then this is like, it's just, you're not going to move the needle, right? And you're like doing yourself a disservice. And they don't have to be these huge things. They can be little bite-sized tasks that maybe only take 10 minutes a day, but you're going to make it a routine. You're going to be disciplined to actually take action on it. And then from that, you can build out a schedule or an event calendar. Like I time block everything. I'm very routine. Everything throughout my day is on my calendar, to include when I pick up my kids from school or when I drop them off or when I go to the gym. Like everything is time blocked. So figure out what your 3 activities are and then plug them into your calendar. Like I'm sure you probably have like a 5 touches per day. Like you're reaching out, you're doing your prospecting. Like, is that at a certain time of the day? Is that like a morning or evening thing for you?
Yeah, I like to do mine in the morning.
Morning, right? I have mine too. Mine is from 7:30 to 8, are my 5 touches.
Yep.
I might do it while I'm at the gym, but it's on there. And if I don't get to it, I still saw like the notification come up, and then I create a little guilt for myself for not doing it, right?
Nice.
So you're going to just program that on your calendar, and then you're going to determine the goals for the year. So this is the exact, I just took a screenshot of one of my agents on my team. So she had just joined my team the end of last year. So she went through her 2 previous years on 2 different teams, and she broke out, again, transaction type, was it buyer or seller? And you can see she's always pretty buyer heavy. So she's more of a buyer's agent. Her listings have come from buyers that she's worked with needing to sell. So that's also a little bit of a niche where she has a move-up buyer type of avatar that she's working with who has a house to sell as well. But she's not proactively trying to just become a listing agent. She works with buyers and then leverages opportunity with that. She has her total volume for each transaction, for each buyer versus seller. And then her lead source is mostly SOI. So very, very heavy SOI. She was at Remax for a little bit. She switched brokerages again, SOI. And then she joined this team where she got a little bit of open house leads and team leads, which was interesting too, because she had to learn a new skill set of going from working with someone who's in your sphere, who you know, who like and trust you, to going to a stranger who does not know you. There's a very different skill set required to be able to convert those types of leads. So she had to strengthen her skill set to be able to do more non-SOI business. So she went through this. Now this was our review for last year. This was the most recent numbers. Again, still buyer heavy. And she did just around, $5 million of volume last year. She closed, including rentals, 10 deals. So her goal for this year was a matter of, and I'll skip ahead. So we did a little one-on-one coaching, and we were just doing our numbers. I'll get to that in one second though. But again, she's breaking out, all right, I've continuously done at least 5 buyer deals every year. Like, that should not be difficult for me to do another 5 this year at a minimum. But I would like to do a little bit more on the sell side too. So instead of the average of being like doing 3 listings, let me just shoot for 5. So that's kind of how she extrapolated what her goals were going to be. And then coming up with her GCI for seller and buyer. And she used our team average price points to kind of figure out like how she would get to her $70,000 in GCI on the sell side.
Nice.
So she averaged those numbers out. As you can see, she didn't really count rentals that much. But then she also created a stretch goal for her buyers. So she's like, I would really at a minimum like to get 10 deals done this year, but I think having a goal of 15 will just push me a little bit further. So these were her 3 pillars. And it's very consistent with what her business has looked like over the years. Number 1 is her repeat and referral business. These are existing clients. And I say, so every year you do about 5 transactions with your sphere. What activities have you done to get them to think of you, to stay front of mind, to get them to call you? She's like, nothing, they just call me. So for me as a team lead, I'm like, what an opportunity to actually give you some skills, to put some action in place and just ramp that up. So we came out with just 3 simple things. Send out a home anniversary card every year. Like, that is the easiest thing to do. You can automate it. You don't even have to think about it using a CRM. Just sending out a home anniversary card, like so old school. Sending out a birthday card. Again, so easy and so old school, but do you know there's so many realtors who don't even do that?
Right.
Like, it blows my mind that we can't even just send a birthday card out to a client who just spent $1 million on a home and we made 25 grand on, and we can't send them a birthday card every year. That's insane. So we need to make sure we're doing little touches like that. And then the last one for her. The
little touches go a long way.
It does. It's front of mind. And it's like you just never know what's going on in their life at that exact moment where they're like, you know what, I was just thinking of maybe we should move. And then poof, your letter comes in the mail and it's like, right time. So you have to just constantly be in front of people. And then the last activity for her first pillar is sending out what we call our annual equity reports. And that's something that we do every year, kind of around that home anniversary timeline, to just let our clients know, like, hey, you bought this home 3 years ago, you have a ton of equity in it. Have you thought about what you might want to do with that equity? Do you want to reinvest? Do you want to refinance? Do you want to buy another home? Do you want to move up to a bigger house? All the options there. So those are 3 touches that she's never done before for her referral or sphere business that she's started to implement already, and we're already seeing she's getting business from this. And this is just in 2 weeks over the holidays, right?
Wow.
So little touches, they're not expensive, but they can make all the difference in your business.
I want to thank you actually for bringing that up, because I've noticed that there's a surplus of realtors who want to double this year, but there's a deficiency of realtors who are actually doing the things that's going to help them double when they actually break down what worked for them last year.
Yeah. Is there any common theme that you're seeing that you think agents are lacking and are not doing this year that you think if they implemented, they'd see more success?
Absolutely. I know a lot of agents that got comfortable in, for example, 2022, 2021, when rates were very low, right? 2020, 2021, they absolutely crushed it. Then 2022, they did a little worse than they did in 21. Most agents that I know, 20 and 21 were like their best years ever.
Of course.
Rates were in the twos,
Yeah.
right? Of course. And then they thought, oh, 2023 is going to be a better year, but they were still in their comfort zone.
Yep.
And it wasn't a better year. Then 2024 comes around, they say, oh, you know what, it can't get worse than that. I think it's going to be better this year.
Right.
And now they're scratching their head. They're like, listen, I have to do something. So this is another reason why I really wanted to have you on, because I think that if the audience, if agents really execute on this, they can really have their best 2025 ever, and they don't have to feel that pain that a lot of agents have felt over the past 2 to 3 years.
Yep. It's really finding like that big one big thing, right? And I say 3 just because I think you need more than one thing, but it's like if you feel that I don't know even where to get started and there's so many ideas out there, just pick one that you can commit to doing.
What have been the least expensive things for you that have gotten you the best results?
Annual equity report.
Okay.
Because we are advisors. I'm not a realtor. I'm not a real estate agent, right? I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I run my real estate business as a business, and we are consultants within that business. We're advisors. So just like I have a financial advisor who advises me on how to invest and make money and avoid tax implications, we have to be that same advisor to our clients. Again, you have equity. Hey, have you thought about doing these things that would help you generate more legacy wealth for your family? Like most agents do not take that approach when talking to clients, and especially if you want to get into the higher price points and working with luxury clientele, like that is how their brain works. They have money for a reason because they own a business or they're a C-level executive and they know how to communicate and think big picture and they know how to invest their money. So you have to be able to speak and talk the talk, walk the walk, and have those same conversations with them that they would with their own peers. So we are advisors, and I feel as sharing with them annual equity reports, not only is it a touch, it's cheap, but it establishes you as an authority in their life. So I really like that. Yeah.
Amazing. Let's continue.
Cool. I'm going to tell one more story on this one. So Neighborhood Farm. Last year, let's see, she had 3 listings. Okay, one of these listings, one of her SOIs was she lives in a little neighborhood in Hope Sound. No, Stewart. It's not gated, but it's a little boutique HOA. And one day she's like, you know what? I'm just going to get a couple of dozen donuts and put a chair in my driveway and just get some coffee. And there's always people walking around the neighborhood with their dogs. Just meet my neighbors because she just moved to the neighborhood. She did this. She met like all of the neighbors. She got 2 listings from just sitting in her driveway, meeting people, letting them know that she's a realtor in their neighborhood, and she got 2 listings out of it. Like It's the cheapest, it must be the cheapest seller lead ever, right? Like how much are Dunkin' Donuts, right? And so I said, well, awesome. Like how often do you do this? She's like, oh, I've only ever done it once. I'm like, so wait, you mean to tell me you've randomly got donuts, sat in your driveway, you got 2 listing appointments, 2 listings out of it, and you've never done that again? And that's the thing, right? Because it has to create a system around it. So from this, we call this just her quarterly donut and coffee event. So now she's committing to doing this every quarter. Monthly was a little bit too much, but I figure like it's a Sunday, why can't you just do it once a month? But it wasn't my goal, it's her goal. She's like, no, monthly's too much, no problem. So we're gonna do quarterly coffee event. But we're creating a system out of it. So what she does is there's a Facebook group for her neighborhood. So the week before, whatever day this is, she's sending out an announcement. Hey neighbors, come by my house, I'll have coffee on this date, hope to see you there. Super light, right? She has them come over. She has a little QR code at the table. They scan the QR code. It goes to our home valuation page. It's a lead capture. So now we know who scanned it. We know the name. We know their address. They get an instant home valuation. It's generic, but still. But now we know at least someone inquired about what their home might be worth. And then that's her, so the third step is her follow-up on like, hey, thanks for coming by. I noticed that you scanned the QR code. What did you think about the home valuation? And then she gets the conversation started with listing. So it's a 3-step system that she's been able to create an asset from just buying donuts and sitting in her driveway. So
It's brilliant.
brilliant. Just do it, commit, and create a system around it. And all this stuff is so easy to do. You just have to actually implement.
And you can do that for any price point. And even if you
Anything.
live in a community where it's like $10 million and up, you could do like macaroons and espresso.
There you go.
Right?
Get a little fancy
Exactly.
with it. Yes, exactly. Okay, so we do one-on-ones, and this was just kind of an example. So I'll just break this down, because going from number of deals and your volume to like what actually your take home is, that's different in real estate, because we have brokerage splits, we have team splits. I mean, taxes is a whole nother thing that you really have to take into account.
Sam, yeah.
But so what we did was kind of break out like what her 2025 goals is. Like, she's like, I would really feel comfortable making around $113,000. We're talking GCI numbers here. That's after her brokerage and team splits. Okay, so we're just talking gross, not net after taxes. And then stretch, she's like, 130 would be even more awesome, right? So it's like, okay, how do we backwards plan into that? Well, the majority of her business is still going to come from her sphere. And on my team, we have different compensation plans based off of if the lead was generated from the agent, like their own sphere, versus if it was a team lead, like I gave it to them. So we have different splits that have to be accounted for. But the majority of her business is going to be buy side. She'll have a couple of listings in there. And she wants her SOI and team to be 50-50. So if she's doing 10 deals, she knows, okay, I have a different split if I bring my own business, and I have a different split if it's team lead. So we're basically using the team lead average, which last year was about $700,000. We're multiplying just to be very conservative. Did I do that?
It's okay.
We're multiplying to be conservative, 2.5% professional fee. And then if it's a 50-50 split on our team, we divide it by 2. So her average GCI for one transaction that's a team lead would equal about $8,700, okay? So then we're gonna multiply that by her 5 deals that is her goal, and that would equate to about $43,000 in GCI. We do the same thing on the SOI side. And then that's how this is really rough, and this is kind of just how we drafted this on the back of a napkin, but this is kind of how we came up with her numbers on the splits, the lead source, and then whether it was a team or an SOI deal. So in a very roundabout way, we were able to extract her review data, create her pillars for success this year, and then actually put numbers to them, which at the end of the day, everyone wants to know, like, hey, what do I want to make this year? What's going to feel good? And then what can I work towards achieving?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So lead sources, calculate sales price, calculate your brokerage team, determine your goals. I like to have a regular goal and kind of a stretch goal, just pie in the sky number to work towards. And then really it's taking action, and that's a wrap.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. This was incredible. You have a QR code?
Yep. If you scan that, I'll have to allow requests, but I'll get a notification, then I'll let you guys write in. But it's the same exact tracker that we just went over.
Awesome.
Yes.
This was super dialed in. I think it was a ton of value. And the webinar is sponsored by One Stop Mortgage. It was actually recorded at our sister company, One Stop Media, at our studio here.
Great setup.
Thank you so much.
Studio.
Appreciate it. Which we started One Stop Media as a sister company, specifically as a separate division within One Stop Mortgage to serve the realtors that we work with, because what we're obsessed with is helping realtors get to the next level. I saw there was a deficiency in high quality, affordable media. So that's the issue that we really try to solve. And anytime we close a mortgage together, we co-sponsor 50% off your next signature reel, whether it's property or branding. And then on the mortgage side, I'm the president and senior loan advisor here. I've been in the mortgage business for 8 years now. I'm the top loan officer in America under 30. I funded over $100 million in my career, well over. Should probably do the numbers again. It's probably closer to like 150.
Awesome.
But personally on my team, I help about 85 families a year. At One Stop Mortgage, we help as a company well over 100 families a year. And we have over 496 banks that we shop from to get your clients the best rate. That's very important to me. And what I love about me and my team is we don't just do conventional and FHA. We do a lot of debt service coverage ratio, a lot of bank statement loans. We are non-warrantable condo specialists as well, and a ton of jumbo loans.
Awesome.
So whether your client is self-employed or W-2, doesn't matter. Send them over to me, and we'll make sure they're in great hands.
Awesome. Very good.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Chris, for having me. I appreciate it. We'll
Thank
do
you.
this again next time.
Yeah,
for
we're going to
sure.
do this again.
Yes.
Next one, like Nicole said, we're going to dial in the metrics a bit more. Do you want to unpack that briefly?
Yeah, so I think it's really important as we're going through lead sources to really look at the numbers and the finances behind it. So what your investment is, what your return on your investment is, but then also tracking the steps for metrics of success. So like how many calls to actually get someone on the phone, what your conversion rate is after you do actually speak to them on the phone, what your appointment setting ratio and rate is, and then of course what your conversion is and your sale ratio. So we need to know like how many phone calls, how many people I need to talk to result in a closed sale, and then we backwards plan from there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. And everyone have a great day.